The purpose of these lessons is to show you the logic behind the most basic Chinese characters, beginning with the simplest pictograms, and later combining these elements to create more complex characters. This lesson contains only 3 characters, and is the third and last installment based on the pictogram of grains still on the stalk, pronounced second tone, he. Before we begin, we need to review a character from way back in lesson 10, composed of a man walking along with a heavy bamboo basket strapped on his back. This split sound character is pronounced either second tone chong, meaning to pile one upon another, to repeat, which in turn gives fourth tone zhong, its meaning of heavy, weighty, or important. So our first new character pairs the stalk of grain radical with zhong as the phonetic, giving us 2 more pronunciations. Third tone zhong, meaning seeds of grain crops, and fourth tone zhong, meaning to plant or cultivate those seeds. Actually, you will notice that this new character was, at one time, 2 very similar characters that became confused and eventually combined into one. The final result was 1 character with 2 related meanings, each with its own pronunciation. We'll begin with third tone zhong, meaning seeds of grain crops. 一粒麦种, a grain of wheat. 我从来没看到过这么小的一粒种子. I have never seen such a tiny seed. Notice that when used alone to mean a seed or seeds, 种 adds the character zi for clarity and gives zi its full third tone pronunciation, 种子. In combinations such as a grain of wheat, the zi is dropped. 一粒麦种. 我们种子很多，可以分给你们一些. We have plenty of seeds and can share some with you. In lesson 45, we learned that the character composed of 3 mouths, pin, indicated a group of people with different opinions, airing their disagreements, giving pin the meaning of difference and discernment. In other words, the ability to discriminate, as when savoring an expensive tea or fine wine, the ability to discern proper from immoral behavior, or in the business world, differentiating one product from another. Those 3 mouths could also logically be considered 3 separate objects, distinct one from the other. We need that last connotation today, differentiating one product from another. In the phrase 品种, we have the word for animal species or plant varieties. 玉米品种, corn varieties. 那里有很多花，是我没看过的品种. There were many varieties of flowers that I had never seen before. 从事这行的都知道，货的品种越多越好. People in this business know the more variety of goods, the better. Animals used literally for their seed are animals used for breeding their species. 他的马 不是给人骑的，是用来当种马。His horse is not for riding. It's a stud horse for breeding. 他从事猪肉和种猪出口的生意。He's engaged in the export of pork and pigs for breeding. Humans can also be differentiated by species, as in the phrase 白种人, the white race, or white people, often simplified to 白人, which sounds a bit better, less racially tinged. 她父母反对她嫁给白种人. Her parents objected to her marrying a Caucasian. 这里的白种人不跟土人来往. The white people here don't associate with the natives. 那些本地人都没有看过白种人. The locals had never set eyes on white people before. Following this same logic of seeds and stud horses, we now come to an expression meaning a man has guts, 有种, an obvious reference to a man's virility and sexual potency. It may be used as a form of praise for a man's courage, but it's more often used in anger. It's clearly a less than elegant, but not exactly a vulgar term, or it wouldn't appear in all my student dictionaries. 你有种，你给我出来! Come on out here if you've got the guts. 小子，你有种的话，你给我回来! Come back here, kid, if you dare. In English, the words kinship, mankind, and kindergarten all contain the same kin root word, meaning a relative or child, literally, to be born of the same seed, the same stock. The word kind, meaning sort, class, or variety, also belongs to this family. No surprise, then, that Chinese 种 is a universal measure word, used in the same way as kind in English. 别人也有你这种想法. Other people think the same way you do. Literally, the same kind of thinking. 我们不能有那种可能性. We can't allow for that possibility. 请问，您太太使用哪一种香水? May I ask which perfume your wife uses? 你有种天分，会把人的意思搞得恰好相反. You have a knack for totally misunderstanding what people mean. 种 is also the proper measure word for languages. A common mistake by Chinese speakers learning English is asking this odd-sounding question. How many kinds of languages do you speak? They're translating 种 directly from Chinese. 你会几种语言? How many languages do you know? I mentioned in lesson 94 that I'd give more examples of the expression 吃香 in this lesson. Without 种, I couldn't give these examples until now. 会有2种外语的员工很吃香. Employees who know 2 foreign languages are in great demand. 这种时尚皮包在女性眼中很吃香. This type of fashionable handbag is very popular among the ladies. 在青年人心中，这种工作 已不吃香了. Young people are no longer interested in this type of work. 出国吧，在国外，像你这样人才是很吃香的. Go abroad. Talents like yours are much sought after in other countries. We've seen many times before that repeating a character indicates all, many, or every. So, here's 种种. 种种想象不到的问题丛生. All kinds of unanticipated problems came up. 他心里闪过种种可怕的念头. All sorts of terrible thoughts crossed his mind. 我可以想到种种要面对的可能性. I can think of various possibilities that we'll be faced with. 他向我说出种种道理，使我不得不首肯. He came up with a whole host of reasons until I felt I had to consent. Now we'll move on to fourth tone 种, meaning to plant or cultivate. Originally a totally different character from 种. Over time, however, both characters became confused and eventually coalesced into one. 种田是那里的人的生计. Farming is the livelihood of the people there. 他早上的时间都花在种花上. She spends her mornings growing flowers. 儿女出去打工，父母留在家种田. The children go out to work, while the parents stay home to farm the land. 就是在那个时候，种下了仇恨的种子. It was right then that the seeds of hatred were sown. Notice the two pronunciations. 种下种子. Today's second character contains 和, ears of grain still on the stalks, and pairs it with the right-hand knife radical, 刀. Pronounced fourth tone, 力, 力. This combination depicted ears of grain being cut from the stalk with a sharp sickle, giving this character its earliest connotation of very sharp and quick. With the beginning of agriculture, when people were allowed to store up grains for the future, the meaning of 力 extended to include wealth, riches, profit, or benefit. Starting with its early use to mean sharp, we have the phrase 利刃, literally a sharp blade, which can then be taken to be a special talent or skill. 时间就像一把利刃. Time is like a well-honed knife, meaning, of course, that it shows no mercy, proceeding ruthlessly onward. 走开，要不就给你尝尝我的利刃. Get out of the way, or I'll give you a taste of my fearsome sword. Without more context, this could also be construed as a taste of his awesome fighting skills. Notice that 要不 is short for 要不然, otherwise. 我哥哥认为他需要一把利刃才能就业. My brother feels he'll need some special skill to get a job. 有利 refers to an advantage or benefit of some sort. 我们在等待有利的时刻. We're waiting for the right time. 这一时刻对他们家特别有利。This moment is especially advantageous for their family. 他以往的成就对他今天的工作很有利。Her past achievements serve her well in her present job. 时间拖得越久越好，显然对我们有利。The longer it takes, the better. It's clearly to our advantage. In Lesson 35, we learned the character 的, a simple pictogram of a person walking along a road who comes upon a cowrie shell and picks it up. It means to get, obtain, or acquire. By adding 利, 得利, we can express the idea of gaining benefit or profit from something. 大家都得利了. Everyone benefits. 黑手党从走私枪中得利. The mafia profits from gun smuggling. 立了法之后，得利的人很多。Many people benefited after the law was enacted. 他们从事这个工作的得利比其他行业多。They profit more from this job than they would in other lines of work. 当然想合作，可是到最后得利的是什么人呢？ Of course I want to cooperate, but who will benefit in the end? The character 顺 from Lesson 40 is an ideogram depicting a person next to a flowing stream, meaning to go in the direction of the water flow, or in other words, to follow, to be obedient, or comply with the rules. When paired with 利, we get 顺利, indicating that you encounter no difficulties and everything is going smoothly. 我没想到会这样顺利. I didn't expect it to go so well. 家父的手术开得很顺利. My father's surgery went smoothly. That is, without a hitch. 到今天为止，一切都很顺利. So far, so good. 人生会有种种的不顺利和烦恼. There will be all manner of difficulties and troubles in life. 那些吃力的差事，到最后才顺利完成. Those exhausting tasks were successfully completed in the end. 我看你是很不易的顺利通过这个关卡. I don't think you'll manage to pass this stage so easily. In Lesson 14, I introduced the character 流, showing a woman giving birth, whose water has broken, causing blood and fluid to flow. This graphic depiction now simply means to flow, as applied to rivers, tears, blood, saliva, and sweat, or to anything that wanders or spreads unchecked, from refugees to fashions to rumors. When describing how our written work reads smoothly, or a person speaks fluently, the proper phrase is 流利. When reading the examples, notice the three unstressed grammatical particles. 的 before nouns, 的 to create adverbs, and 的 after verbs to express to what degree or with what result. 她说一口流利的中国话. She speaks fluent Chinese. 她能像丹麦人一样流利地说丹麦语. He can speak Danish as fluently as a Dane. 他德语流利的使人以为他是德国人。He speaks German so fluently that people think he's German. 要是我能说一口流利的日语就好了。If only I could speak fluent Japanese. 他讲这种语言像他外婆讲的一样流利。She speaks the language as fluently as her grandmother. 我加拿大朋友说的一口流利又道地的法语。My Canadian friend speaks fluent idiomatic French. 他的衣着和他流利的英语成了奇特的对照。His clothing was in strange contrast to his fluent English. I introduced the character 丝 in lesson 94. A stalk of grain, 禾 next to a hook shape, 丝. According to some etymologists, the earliest version of 丝 depicted a person's arm shielding their private parts. Later, when 禾 was added, it expanded to show the same arm clutching a sheaf of grain to the body. And since grain stores indicated wealth, 丝 refers to a person clutching not just their private parts, but their private wealth as well. So, 私利 refers to personal profit. 你别跟他合作，他是个追逐私利的人。Don't collaborate with him. He's only in it for personal profit. He's literally chasing profit. 他不是为了他人有用，而是为了个人私利。He's not out to help others, he's only in it for himself. Note that 他人 means 别人, other people. The character for a primitive wooden bucket, fashioned out of large bamboo sections, 用, appeared in lesson 55. Since buckets were an essential item in everyday use, 用 got its basic meaning of to use. By pairing 利 with 用, we obtain the phrase 利用, to make use of. 我利用一切机会讲英语. I take every opportunity to speak English. 你可以把闲工夫利用得好些. You can make better use of your spare time. 你明明知道，他不过是在利用你. You know perfectly well he's just using you. 这个不毛之地要如何加以利用? How should this barren land be put to good use? 利用别人来取得私利是不道德的. It's unethical to use others for personal gain. 我被你利用的太多了，到此为止. I've been taken advantage of by you far too long. That stops now. We don't yet have the characters to translate the English ending ism, ism, meaning a doctrine or system, such as altruism. But we can make the phrase for altruistic, 利他, literally to benefit others. 人的利他行为分为两种. Human altruistic behavior is divided into two types. 财主的利他动机真的是为了失业的人吗? Are the tycoon's altruistic motives really for the unemployed? Next, we have the four-character idiom, 利嘴利舌, translating as to be quick of speech, which can be either a positive or negative attribute, depending on context. In English, a fast talker tends to suggest a con artist. but in Chinese it may also refer to a person who speaks well with no ill intentions. 你利嘴利舌，我倒要看看你的真才如何。You talk a good game, but I want to see what your real talent is. Another idiom is 无往不利, implying a person is successful in whatever he or she does. This double negative expression, meaning literally, no direction is unprofitable. Therefore, all directions are profitable. 有这样的理想、信念和行动，你就会无往不利。With such ideas, convictions, and performance, you will go far. 无论哪一行，像你有这么好的关系，无往不利。No matter your line of work, with your connections, nothing can stop you. And finally, 利 can be used simply as a sound syllable to transliterate foreign place names, such as Italy, 意大利。你想不想吃意大利面？ Do you feel like having spaghetti? 她讲意大利话，讲得很溜。She speaks Italian fluently. 小云，你的意大利种马来了。小云，your Italian stallion is here. This sounds like an obvious reference to this girl's hot boyfriend. 他是在意大利工作的法国人。He's a Frenchman working in Italy. 意大利人把他当作一个伟人看待。Italians regard him as a great man. 他开意大利餐厅，生意常年都很好。He runs an Italian restaurant, and business is good all year round. 有必要时，工头能用意大利语跟工人沟通。When necessary, the foreman can communicate with the workers in Italian. The final character in today's lesson is a rather literary one, consisting of a hand holding a sheaf of millet. Pronounced third tone, bing, bing. It was most likely an early reference to whomever was in charge of resources. Bing now means to hold in hand, take charge of, adhere to a principle, etc. To do this character justice, we would need several new characters. So I've had to limit my examples to what we can say right now, beginning with the phrase 秉性, a person's natural disposition or temperament, literally, the nature he or she holds within. 我侄子的秉性本来就不好. My nephew's temperament was never good to begin with. 他秉性和气，关心手下的工作人员。He has a kind nature and cares about his staff. 想骑马，你要对马的秉性很了解。If you want to ride a horse, you must have a good understanding of its temperament. A person who adheres to the straight and narrow path, 秉直, is a good and upstanding member of society. 家父为人秉直，是个正派的人。My father is an upstanding and decent man. Here is our color chart with today's 3 characters. 种 or 种, 粒 and 饼. Here's a summary of today's lesson. 1. The character for both seeds, 种, and to plant or cultivate, 种, were once two distinct characters that were confused and later combined into one. Notice that the modern simplified character is also just one character for both meanings. 2. The character for seeds, 种, may refer to the genetic material of either plants or animals, including humans. Examples given were 种子 for plant seeds, 品种 for varieties of plants, animals, or products, 种马 for a stud horse, 种种 to mean various kinds, and 有种 to say a person has guts. 3. The character for the verb 种 to plant or cultivate can be used to say 种田 to farm the land, 种花 to grow flowers, and 种下种子 to plant seeds, literally or metaphorically, as in the seeds of hatred. 4. The character 粒, the knife radical with 和, depicted a sharp sickle cutting the ears of grain from their stalks. From its early meaning of very sharp or quick, it was extended to include the idea of storing up grains for the future, a form of wealth in ancient times. I introduced these phrases: 利刃, a sharp blade or special skill; 私利 for personal profit; 有利 for beneficial or profitable; 得利 to gain benefit or profit from something; 顺利 to go smoothly; 流利 to flow freely, referring to language; 利用 to make use of; 利嘴 to be quick of speech; 无往不利 to always be successful; and of course, 意大利 for the country of Italy. 5. The character 饼 is a hand holding a sheaf of millet, meaning to take in hand or adhere to a principle. For example, 秉性 for a person's or animal's natural disposition, and 秉质 for an upstanding individual. Now you will find a short quiz on double, triple character, and longer expressions. Answer using only the characters learned so far. Thank you for watching and listening.